Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 5th of September and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. First of all guys, I would like to thank you everyone for their lovely comments. Thank you everyone. So today is the Teachers Day and thank you so much for all of your lovely wishes. Thank you so much. Now, let's start with the today's analysis. Guys, in the today's video, we'll be taking up the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper along with the background as well as the way forward in the articles. Meanwhile, I would like to tell you that you can download this explainer PDF from our Telegram channel and you can follow this particular PDF along with the video in order to get a better understanding of the articles. The link for the Telegram channel is given in the description box. So from there you can reach to the Telegram. Moreover, you can search for in the Telegram by the Thinking Palette by Sahil. Now, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper, and in this particular overview, we'll see that which articles are important. So, first article which talks about UPA MLAs written to Ranchi for the trust vote. So, guys, if you remember, just a couple of days back, we have seen the controversy going in the state of the Jharkhand, where the Election Commission of India has provided its report. Election Commission of India has provided the report to the governor and has provided this particular thing that the Chief Minister of Jharkhand has held the office of prophet. Now in this particular matter, the disqualification is to be taken up. Now guys, there is a political controversy going on into the Jharkhand, and many of the MLAs, they were stationed into the Chhattisgarh. There was a poaching attempts and all that going on. Now they have returned back. That thing is being provided. However, no need to go too much into the detail in this particular article as it is a political controversy. However, the office of prophet and all these things we have already seen. Then Cyrus Mistry, the former Tata chairman, has died. Now not important for our examination. Then advertisements in the regional section, the regional news, fine advertisements, etc. have been given. Okay, so you will be reaching to the editorial section. Now in the editorial section, the first article, justice rendered but only incompletely. We'll see this particular article with respect to the bail jurisprudence that has been there. Then guys, India and Australia from divergence to convergence, an important article with respect to the exam. We'll see this article. Then coercion as conversion. Okay, coercion as conversion. So basically guys, this article is talking about that what has happened recently. The National Medical Commission, NMC, National Medical Commission, has provided that the conversion therapy is a professional misconduct. Now understand that when the LGBT community people are there, they are being forced to go for the sexual the conversion therapy. They should convert their sex, they could change their sex. So that particular thing has been declared as misconduct. Then moving on, a lot is at stake for India-Bangladesh ties. We'll see this particular article. Good article with respect to the India-Bangladesh relation. Changing age of consent. So this article talks about the POXO and related issues. We'll see this article also. Then deploying 5G in the world built on the 4G technology. So guys, with respect to the science and tech GS3, we'll see this particular article. The International Monetary Fund's staff level agreement with the Sri Lanka. Now guys, understand this particular thing that right now in the Sri Lanka, there is an economic crisis is going on, and because of that economic crisis, Sri Lanka needs monetary assistance and it has asked the assistance of the IMF, and IMF is providing under the extended fund facility the support to the Sri Lanka. Now you don't need to go and follow this particular agreement, that what are the provisions of agreement, what has happened in that particular thing, because it is an ongoing process. And many of the changes and many of the transformations will be coming in that particular thing. Okay, so no need to go and follow each and every detail in this particular direction. Then untangling Kerala's Lokayukta controversy. So guys, recently the Lokayukta amendment bill has been passed by the Kerala. This Lokayukta issue has become a very big controversy. We'll be understanding this entire issue. Then moving on, Hasina's visit to focus on water sharing. So guys, basically we can see that the Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is visiting India, and on that many agreements will be concluded. Fine. So on the editorial page also there is one article that has come on this direction. We'll see this particular article. Then guys, moving on. After that, in this particular direction, the political articles, etc., not important for your examination. However, here there is the article which talks about the dark sky reserve. So this article is important. We'll see this article. Scientists remain skeptical about the nano urea. So we'll see this article of nano urea. Then ISRO's inflatable aerodynamic deacceleration system is being discussed. So we'll see this particular article also. Then today on Monday we don't have business page, we have this money wise page, and this money wise page talks about the investing advices, IPOs, okay, mutual funds, etc. Fine. For our exam, this article or this money wise page doesn't happens to be a very important one. Then coming to the world page, Chile votes on proposed constitution. So we'll see the new constitution that has been adopted by the Chile. Fine. UK to learn name of the new PM today. Fine. Ukraine Prime Minister visits Berlin. So in the Russia-Ukraine crisis, these particular kind of issues is going on. Then guys, we have the sports page. However, on the sports page, much of the UPSC relevant articles are not there in the today's section. So that is all guys about the newspapers overview today. And yesterday there was the India-Pakistan match where Pakistan actually defeated the India. However, that's all about the paper. And now let's take all these particular articles one by one in the detail. Okay. Now, taking up the first article. So guys, first we take the GS quotation, and in the GS quotation, we take the quotations which are relevant for our GS papers. So today we'll take the quotation from the Desmond Tutu, the civil right activist who passed recently. So Desmond Tutu says, "Do your little bit of good wherever you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world." So Desmond Tutu has provided a very meaningful and impactful idea. He says that whatever you can do, even if the small good you can do that particular thing. Don't hesitate, because at the end of the day, your small bits of good, if they will come together, they will overwhelm the world. So doesn't think that what impact you can make, but only consider that whether you can do something or not. Even if there is a small impact, that impact will lead to big results when every small impacts will be brought together. Now this particular idea happens to be a very important idea for GS paper number 4 ethics. GS paper number 4 ethics. So guys, when we talk about the ethical conduct, when we talk about the moral conduct, we should not always be bothered about taking the big ethical actions, taking the big ethical decisions. Even in the smallest of the smallest actions, ethicality and morality should be searched, because that particular thing will uphold the ethical character at the end of the day. So you can use this particular idea in GS paper number 4, ethics, integrity and aptitude. Now let's take the first article. So guys, starting up, so first article we have taken from the text and the context section. The article reads, deploying 5G in the world built on 4G technology. Now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, science and technology. And guys, here standalone and non-standalone 5G networks also will see. So that particular thing can also be important for your prelims examination. Now understand this particular thing guys, that actually 5G has become very important. Why? Because of multiple developments. Number one, basically the auction of the 5G spectrum has been done by the government this year, so therefore important. Secondly, the Jio has announced that they will be rolling the 5G networks or the 5G services by the Diwali festival. So therefore 5G becomes a very important one, because officially India is embracing the 5G technologies in telecom. Now before going in this particular article guys, let's take some of the background first. Now when we talk about the basically the telecom services, okay, we have the 5 generations up till now that we have successfully mastered. First are the first generation 1G, first generation technology. Now guys, when we talk about the first generation technology, here the mobile phones, telecom services were very much limited, and there just the telephones or the telecom technology functioned for making you able to receive telephone calls, to make telephone calls, that's it. However, what happened after that, the second and the third generation came, and with the second and the third generation in the telecom technologies, a lot of enhancement happened, and it added the multimedia messaging also in the telecoms. So into the multimedia messaging, you can receive and you can send the multimedia messages. After that, the email services also got added to the mobile phones. Along with the email, other accessibility such as the accessing of the internet, etc., became the part of the 2G and 3G, particularly in the 3G. However, the internet got introduced in the mobile phones, but at the same time, the speed of the internet was not very much efficient, and therefore, after the first G, second G, 3G, now the 4G came. So basically, the 4G's inception in India happened in 2010. Okay, and since the 4G came in the existence, 4G has enhanced the internet applications into the mobile phones manifold. 4G was capable to maintain the stronger connectivity. It was characterized by stronger connection speeds, and at the same time guys, With the coming of the 4G, what has happened? The total number of smartphone adoptions into the world has increased. Now, according to the report given by the Statista, today the 4G devices have been basically their numbers have increased substantially. There is 6.6 billion 4G enabled smartphones right now in the world. Okay, it is double since 2016 when there were only 3.7 billion telecom devices. It will reach to around 7 billion, more than 7.5 billion by 2027. So the idea is that with the 4G technologies, the internet enabled devices, okay, smartphones have increased. Now the 4G are characterized by the higher data speeds, higher download speeds, higher upload speeds, and many of the internet enabled services can be taken by the 4G. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that now we need to further upgrade the telecom technologies because of the many developments that are now coming. Now what are these developments that are coming? So please pay attention here. Now guys, understand that first of all, wearable devices, for example, the smartwatches. So smartwatches, these wearable devices have become an entire genre of the devices, and they are also connected with the internet. So therefore they depend on to the high speed internet. After that, internet of things is now emerging. Now what is the internet of things? Internet of things is a very simple idea, that is to integrate your day to day equipments, your day to day electronics with the internet. We can take an idea of the internet of things, very simple idea. For example, this is your car. Okay, and now let's say you are going at a speed of 60 kilometer per hour. Now guys, you need to actively see that there is a safe distance with the other vehicles. If there is a kind of, let's say, you have to brake if suppose the distance between the two vehicles is reducing, or let's say if something has come in between, an animal came in between, a human came in between, so you have to actively maneuver this particular car. Now what is the internet of things? IoT. This particular car will be connected with the internet. Now understand that suppose this is a car. Now there is one more car at a particular distance. Now into the internet of things, all these cars will be connected with the internet in a real-time manner. They can share the information. This particular car can also be able to observe that what are the different vehicles around that. Okay, and in that particular capacity, they can automate a lot of processes. For example, if the distance between these two cars is reducing, they can automatically apply the brakes. Why? Because by the sensors, by the internet technologies, they are connected with each other and they can observe. By that particular thing, the accidents will be reduced. One more example of internet of things can be taken. For example, guys, in your refrigerator, there is a particular place where you keep milk, where you keep, let's say, eggs. Now suppose the milk, when it's finished, when the eggs they are finished, automatically your refrigerator can place the orders by the apps such as the Blinkit, Swiggy, basically Swiggy, Instamart, okay, Big Basket, and that particular delivery will be made at your home. So all these particular things will be automated by the internet of things. So internet of things, fourth industrial revolution, machine to machine communication, artificial intelligence, wearable devices, more equipped telecom devices. Okay, apart from that, guys, also what is happening today, the artificial intelligence, machine to machine learning, all these particular things are being installed even into the manufacturing sector. Today the machines, they are equipped or they are attached with the internet. Okay, the many, for example, guys, let's say there is a cold storage. Into that cold storage, fine, there is all the sensors which are working on AI, which are working with the internet. Okay, so basically in the manufacturing world, there is also a lot of requirement of internet. So therefore we need a lot of high density, high speed network, and in that capacity the 5G comes. Now when we talk about the 5G uses the new standard called as 5G new radio. Now understand this 5G new radio, guys. When we talk about the 5G, why the 5G internet is so fast? It's because the 5G uses the high frequency millimeter wave. Now understand that when we talk about the 4G is a long-term evolution. 4G is LTE. It operates onto the wavelength under the 6 gigahertz. Fine. So basically it uses like 4 to 6 gigahertz. So maximum 6 gigahertz of the wavelength are used by the 4G. But when we talk about 5G uses between 30 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz of the wavelength. 30 to 300, which is many times higher than the 4G. By that particular thing, the 4G gets a better bandwidth and can deliver onto much more faster speeds than the 4G. Now understand, there is one particular issue that's coming, that how the 5G rollout will be there. So guys, there are two things. Now basically, if you look on this particular picture, there is non-standalone model and then there is a standalone model. Okay, so non-standalone model is there and then the standalone model is there. So basically understand that today with the world that we have, it is built onto the 4G technologies. Majority of the infrastructure, telecom infrastructure, is the 4G infrastructure that we have. So one model of rolling down the 5G is that non-standalone infrastructure. For example, basically the LTE, long-term evolution 4G networks. Okay, by that particular infrastructure only we can provide the 5G connectivity, 5G network. That is the non-standalone. Then there is the standalone model. In the standalone model, what will happen? The infrastructure for the 4G will be separate and the infrastructure for the 5G will be separate. So the 5G core, there will be the 5G core, there will be 5G pure play model where all the infrastructure, all the transponders, everything will be customized for the 5G network only. So there could be the standalone model. Now understand that when we talk about the standalone model, it will provide much more effectiveness. It will provide much more efficiency in terms of the better connections, in terms of better speeds, and all full range of services that is possible by the 5G will be provided by the standalone when you install the specific and the dedicated network for the 5G, dedicated infrastructure for 5G. Now understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the present time, all the world countries are trying, most of the world countries are trying to experiment with the 5G technology, and some countries are using the NSA model, that is a non-standalone model where they are using existing 4G infra, and some countries are experimenting with the standalone model. Now understand this particular thing. You can read this particular thing also. Okay, non-standalone or a standalone architecture. In a non-standalone framework, the operator can use their existing installed capacities and LTE architecture, that is a long-term evolution architecture which was earlier for 4G. The same can be used for 5G. And the SA model, that is a standalone model, fine, it will have pure play 5G architecture, dedicated 5G infrastructure. It will provide full range of 5th generation capabilities. Now when we talk about, guys, the countries such as Germany, they have tried to start with the non-standalone model where the existing 4G LTE networks are being used for 5G. But when we talk about the India, in India, the Jio is working on to the standalone model where the dedicated pure play 5G infra will be created, and by that 5G facilities will be provided. So guys, understand this particular thing, that today world has an option to use NSA, non-standalone, as well as SA, standalone architecture. But over the period, the 5G will be becoming a norm, and as 5G will become a norm, 5G will become a kind of a standard. So eventually standalone architectures have to be prepared anyhow, but right now they are not being prepared because it will include a lot of cost, it will include a lot of upgradations. So over a period of next 5-7 years, that particular investments, upgradations will be done by many other companies and many other countries. So this is all about this particular article, guys. I hope that you have understood it. So this entire standalone, non-standalone, again I'll explain in just 3 seconds. Standalone means deploying the 5G pure play infrastructure which is dedicatedly for 5G. Non-standalone means that 4G LTE, long-term evolution 4G networks, 4G infrastructure is being used for delivering the 5G services. Okay, so this is something, an option that countries have to choose. That is all about this article, and now we'll move to the next article. Untangling Kerala's Lokayukta controversy. Now guys, this is a very important article for GS paper number 2, issues related to polity. Very important article. So this Kerala's Lokayukta controversy is going in the news from many days. Okay, so we'll see this entire issue here. Now guys, first of all, when we talk about the Lokpal and the Lokayukta institutions, these are the dedicated bodies that will be dealing with the corruption charges on the ministers, on the public servants of a higher order. Okay, so Lokpal and Lokayukta. Now first of all, when we talk about, guys, the Lokpal, basically in the Scandinavian countries there has been an institution of ombudsman, and that institution of ombudsman in the Scandinavian country deals with the complaint of corruption, deals with the complaints of graft, okay, and all these particular kind of things against the public servants, against the ministers, against the legislators. Now for the first time in India, the institution of Lokpal was suggested by the Morarji Desai, was suggested by the Morarji Desai in 1966 as a part of the first ARC report, as a part of the first ARC report. Now guys, understand this particular thing. What is this ARC? So ARC stands for Administrative Reform Commission. First ARC. So ARC stands for Administrative Reform Commission. So from time to time, ARCs, these commissions are instituted by the government, and it gives the suggestion to the government that what governance reforms are needed, how the corruption from the government can be reduced. So first ARC report was submitted in 1996 under the Morarji Desai. So there it was provided that we need to have the institution of Lokpal in India. Now for just your understanding, up till now there have been the two ARC commissions that got constituted. There are the two ARC commissions that got instituted. And guys, when we talk about the second ARC, second ARC was constituted in 2005, and it was constituted under the chairmanship of Shri Virappa Moli, and the second ARC has also already submitted its report. Okay, so up till now two ARCs have been there, first and the second. So first ARC recommended the institution of Lokpal. Now guys, for that particular thing, the first Lokpal bill was introduced into the Lok Sabha in 1968, but at that point of a time the bill did not got passed because the consensus was not made on this particular institution of Lokpal. And guys, then after that, for many such years, okay, for nearly 45 years, the Lokpal did not came in existence. However, the Anna Hazare movement started around 2010-11. Now the Anna Hazare movement, where Arvind Kejriwal was also one of a leader, they wanted that we want to have a specific body such as the Lokpal and Lokayukta which will deal with the corruption charges, and that was a demand of the Anna Hazare movement. Government finally agreed. They said that okay, we will be coming out with the body of Lokpal. And what happened? Lokpal and Lokayukta bill was passed in 2013 into the parliament. Now when we talk about this Lokpal and Lokayukta bill, what it is all about, let's understand. First of all, it was provided in this particular bill that at the national level the body of Lokpal will be constituted. At the national level the body of Lokpal will be constituted. Now this Lokpal will be headed by the incumbent Chief Justice of India, or there could be the retired Supreme Court judge. So the CJI, Chief Justice of India, or the retired Supreme Court judge can be the chairman. This particular body will have maximum 8 members. Out of that 8 members, 4 members or the 50% of the members need to be the judicial members. They need to be the judges, etc. So first of all, the body of the Lokpal has a very high profile members. All of them, most of them have the judicial background. Now when we talk about the Lokpal Act provides that thing, that the Lokpal will have an inquiry wing. For example, guys, there is a corruption charge, and for that inquiry can be done, and then there will be the prosecution wing for the prosecution of the people who have been charged under the corruption. Now this particular Lokpal, it can have the jurisdiction to study to investigate the allegations of corruption against the Prime Minister, all the other ministers, MPs, Member of Parliament, Group A, Group B, Group C and Group D officers of the central government. So IAS officers, even ministers, even the MPs, the Prime Minister, everybody, the Lokpal can investigate the matter. So it is a very high profile body. So that was the Lokpal that came. Now guys, on the lines of the Lokpal, at the level of state, it was provided that the state needs to come out with the Lokayuktas. The state are needed to come out with the Lokayuktas, which will be state level body. Now guys, into the Lokayuktas, the state government were given the power that they can come out with their own Lokayuktas with respect to their power, with respect to their terms of conditions and all those particular kind of things. So the states were also asked. Now guys, first of all, understand this particular thing. Some of the states already had the Lokayukta even before this 2013 Act came in existence. For example, we have the example of Maharashtra. Maharashtra has Lokayukta since 1971. We have the example of Kerala. Kerala had Lokayukta since 1999. So some states before that had Lokayukta. Some states brought the Lokayuktas after 2013 Act. Now guys, basically the Kerala controversy came recently in the existence. Now what was the Kerala? Kerala has changed their Lokayukta Act. Kerala has changed their Lokayukta Act 1999 and some changes they have brought. By that particular thing, the opposition has said that this is not happened into the good spirit. So first of all, let's understand that what are these amendments that have been made by the Kerala, and then we'll understand whether these amendments are good amendments or these amendments are not good amendments. So let's understand the amendments that had come. So basically guys, this Kerala Legislative Assembly passed this Lokayukta Amendment Bill fine recently on August. Now first amendment that comes here is that guys, now please be very careful, it is an important topic. The first amendment was that amendment related to the competent authority to consider the Lokayukta recommendations. Now understand, suppose there is a chief minister. Now on the chief minister, there has been a complaint that the chief minister has carried certain corruption. In this particular capacity, what will happen? The Lokayukta will investigate, because I have already provided you that it has its own investigation wing. So the Lokayukta will investigate whether the chief minister has actually done some corruption or not. After that, the Lokayukta will submit its report. And then the report will be submitted to a person, and that person will consider that whether the chief minister should resign or should not resign, or should do this or should do that. Now who is this competent authority to whom the report will be submitted? Now originally the Lokayukta Act provided that the competent authority will be the governor, but now it has been changed and it has been said that governor will not be the competent authority, rather the Lokayukta should send the report to the council of should send the report to the Legislative Assembly, and the Legislative Assembly has been made as a competent authority. So in a one line, what has happened? The Lokayukta, when it will investigate the corruption charges against the sitting chief minister, he will give the report not to the governor but to the Legislative Assembly. So Legislative Assembly is now a competent authority. Now guys, on this particular capacity, one very big criticism that has come. Criticism says like this thing, that when you talk about the Legislative Assembly, in the Legislative Assembly, obviously the major power is of the ruling government. And when the investigation is being taken against the sitting chief minister, obviously the sitting chief minister will have a lot of big clout. He will have a lot of influence into the Legislative Assembly, because the majority of the MLAs are favoring the CM only. And in that way, if the report is laid into the Legislative Assembly, that Legislative Assembly might not do anything for the CM, because might not do anything against the CM. Why? Because the CM belongs to the ruling, the MLA belongs to the ruling. So therefore, effectively what had happened, the chief minister has suitably been brought out of the Lokayukta's jurisdiction. So it has been said that it is a very big dilution that has happened. Clear? This is one issue that has come. Now guys, after that, actually there is one more issue that I want to point out here. Very, very important one issue. Let's take, now basically it is being said that okay, even originally this particular provision was not very much impactful. Why even originally it was not very impactful? Listen very, very carefully. Originally, who was the competent authority? Governor. Okay, governor was competent authority, but let's read this point. So basically, there is article number 164 of the Indian Constitution. Article 164 provides that the chief minister or any minister will hold the office during the pleasure of the governor. But we know this particular thing, that the governor cannot remove the CM or the minister whenever he wants. In that capacity, basically the Sarkaria Commission has made certain things very clear. Sarkaria Commission said this thing, that the governor can dismiss the chief minister only when the chief minister has lost the majority in the assembly. Now let's say a corruption charge was imposed. Now the Lokayukta had said that yes, corruption has been done by the CM, and now they have published their report into the Legislative Assembly. But still, let's say the MLA still doesn't withdraws the majority, still they doesn't withdraws the support, still the CM might be enjoying the majority in the house. In that capacity, even if the report has been submitted to governor, but governor cannot do anything. So therefore it was provided that originally also this particular provision was not very much meaningful, because Sarkaria Commission provided that governor can remove the CM when he has lost the majority of the house. Even the Supreme Court has adopted the recommendation of the Sarkaria Commission. So this was not serving any purpose earlier also. Then guys, the another changes that had come in this particular Lokayukta Act, it's now what has happened, the office bearers of the political parties, they have also been included into the definition of public servant. Now understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the Lokayukta, on whom the Lokayukta has a power? Lokayukta has a power against the public servant. In the public servants definition, the holders of the political party, the offices into the political parties holders, their name has also been put. So office bearers of the political parties, they have also been added into the public servant category. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that whenever a corruption charge is levied on any public servant, a corruption charge is levied on any other person, then the case is carried on them under the Prevention of Corruption Act. Now in the Prevention of Corruption Act, the definition of a public servant has been given, but in the Prevention of Corruption Act, in that definition of public servant, fine, it does not include the office bearers of the political parties. It does not include the office bearers of the political parties. So basically what will happen, there will be a conflict that will come. The Lokayukta Act is saying office bearers of political party are public servant, but Prevention of Corruption Act says that no, office bearers will not be the public servant. So it will lead to a kind of a conflict. Then the next problem that comes here is that basically an amendment has been carried into the section number 12 of the Lokayukta Act. Now what this amendment? It has been provided that, suppose what will be happening? Suppose this is a minister. This is a minister, and on this particular minister there was a charge that he has committed some corruption. He has committed some corruption. Now the Lokayukta will investigate this particular case. Lokayukta will then recommend. Lokayukta will recommend particular punishment or will recommend particular kind of a course of action to the competent authority. Now first of all, who is competent authority? Competent authority right now is a legislative assembly. So what will happen? The Lokayukta will suggest that okay, we have studied the corruption charges and let's say actually this particular person has done corruption. Okay, so Lokayukta has submitted to the competent authority that you should do these kind of things. Now the section 12 which got amended, it says that if Lokayukta is convinced, listen very carefully, section 12 provides that if Lokayukta is convinced that whatever recommendation was given, those recommendations have been followed, and whatever course of action they suggested, that course of action has been followed, then after that the Lokayukta can close the corruption charges, can close that particular case. So let's again read that particular thing. So it says that if Lokayukta is satisfied by the action taken by the competent authority, then he shall close the case. But the question comes, how Lokayukta can close a corruption case? Why? Because a corruption case can only be closed by the court. Lokayukta is not a judicial body. It has very clearly been provided into the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act. So the case can only be closed by the court, and how the Lokayukta is being given a power to close the case here. So all these particular amendments have become controversial in this Lokayukta Act of Kerala. So that is all, guys, about this particular entire issue. Now understand this particular thing, that these, for example, institution of Lokpal, institution of Lokayukta, then the anti-defection law, on all these things, fine, questions can be asked even in the mains examination, full length questions. So that's all about this article, and now we'll move to the next article. Scientists remain skeptical about how nano urea benefits crops. So guys, we'll understand about this particular nano urea. Now this particular article will be seen with respect to the GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, Science and Technology. We'll see this article with respect to the science and technology, as well as in GS paper number 3, Agriculture and interventions for the agriculture sector. This particular article will also be seen. Now let's see this particular thing. First of all, guys, understand the urea. Urea is a very important input. Okay, urea is an important fertilizer that is added to the agricultural fields. First of all, when you talk about any plant, any crop, it needs nitrogen. Okay, it needs nitrogen for its growth. Why? Because the nitrogen is used to make protein. And on the basis of the protein, the growth of that particular crop, the productivity of that particular crop depends. So every plant needs nitrogen for protein, and for the protein will determine the growth and the productivity of that particular plant. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about the plant can get plant can get nitrogen from two sources. Number one, there are the soil bacteria. Now these soil bacteria the soil bacteria provides the nitrogen, convertible nitrogen to these plants. And secondly guys, what can happen, basically the plants can also break down the atmospheric nitrogen. The plants can also break down the atmospheric nitrogen. So the soil bacteria can provide nitrogen, and the atmospheric nitrogen can also be broken down by the plant and can be used for its growth. Now when we talk about guys the plant's absorption of nitrogen and plant's accessibility of nitrogen is limited into the normal circumstances, but today guys we need a lot more productivity from the plants. Today we want that our agricultural fields need to provide more productivity, more output. So what happens, the artificial nitrogen is supplemental nitrogen is provided. Now how the supplemental nitrogen is provided? Supplemental nitrogen is provided into the form of urea. Supplemental nitrogen is provided into the form of urea. Okay, so guys I use the word artificial nitrogen, that is not artificial, supplemental nitrogen. Okay, it's provided by urea. Now guys traditionally urea comes into the form of granules. It comes into the form of granules. Fine, there will be the small 1 millimeter size granules, these kind of a grains. Okay, kind of a grains. Now the farmer spreads these particular grains, throws these particular grains into the field manually by his hand. This is the normal process as it takes. Now guys normally one sack of urea, it is around 45 to 50 kg. It is around 45 to 50 kg, and in this particular sack there is around 20 kg of nitrogen. Okay, it is 20 kg of nitrogen. Around 46% of the weight of that particular sack is of nitrogen. This is something which happens traditionally. Okay, so guys I hope that you have understood that how traditionally the urea is spread into the farms and how that urea works as a supplemental nutrition, not nitrogen, and by that we get more productivity out of the fields. That is something that is happening. Now guys, first of all understand that actually urea happens to be the most important and most fundamental fertilizer in our country, but at the same time the urea also is the most misused, most ill-used, most abused fertilizer also. Now guys, just 3 years back there was an entire chapter into the economic survey which has talked about that how very indiscriminately urea is being applied into the farms. Okay, so basically fine, so basically guys it has been provided that when we talk about the fertilizers in India, so into this particular capacity there are the 3 fertilizers which are most importantly applied. Okay, these 3 fertilizers are called as the NPK. Now this NPK, what it includes the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. It includes nitrogen, it includes phosphorus and it includes the potassium. So NPK are the 3 most fertilizers that are levied into the fields. Now guys understand this particular thing, that there is a particular ratio only which the NPK, that is the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, are to be applied. But understand that the nitrogen comes from the urea, and urea is the most subsidized fertilizer in India. The government is subsidizing it a lot, and because of that it becomes the very cheap, it becomes very affordable to the farmer, and farmer think that only urea can be levied into the farms because simply it is very cheap. Now guys, what has happened in the fields, there is a toxicity because of the nitrogen that has happened. Over application of urea brings a kind of a toxicity. Moreover guys, many times what is happening, indiscriminate urea, the urea, let's say it was needed 10 kg, 100 kg urea has been put into the field. It is leading to the money wastage also. So therefore, moreover understand this particular thing. When we talk about the urea, I have told you that the urea is highly subsidized by the government. So manufacturing cost of urea is very much high, but we are giving it very cheaply to the farmers. So it is also impacting the financial burden onto the government of India. So there are many such problems because of the urea that's there. Now guys, into this particular capacity, what has happened now recently, the nano urea has been invented by the IFCO. Nano urea, IFCO stands for the Indian Farmer Fertilizer Cooperative Limited, IFCO. So IFCO has invented this nano urea. Now guys, what is this nano urea? Nano urea, it is a basically bottled liquid urea. It is a liquid urea. Just a minute. Fine. So guys, when we talk about the nano urea is simply a liquid urea. Okay, a 500 milliliter of water, a 500 milliliter of bottle of the liquid nano urea can cover the entire field. Now normally to cover an entire field you need the 50 kg urea sac, you need a 50 kg urea. So this 50 kg urea's work can be done by 500 milliliter of nano liquid urea bottle. Now what is this nano liquid urea? Let's understand this particular thing, guys. Now guys, understand this particular thing. When we talk about the liquid nano urea, it comes into the form of a spray, and this particular spray can directly be sprayed onto the plants. Now normally when we talk about the urea, fine, it comes into the granules, it comes in kind of a grain kind of a structure which is thrown manually onto the field. By that particular thing, often what happens, a lot of wastage happens. Are you getting it or not? A lot of urea is just lying into the fields and are not being actually being utilized by the plant. But into the liquid nano urea, it is a spray like bottle, and that particular spray can be directly be sprayed on that particular plants and the plant's leaves. By that particular thing, what happens? Okay, the conventional urea, it has an efficiency of about 25%, but when we talk about the nano urea, it has the efficacy of 85 to 90%. Its absorption is better. Moreover, as it is sprayed, it covers a larger surface area. Moreover, guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the nano urea, it contains, its particles are very much small and its particles are very much numerous. They cover a lot more surface area. Okay, therefore they are much more effective than the conventional urea. After that, guys, when we talk about the nano urea, the conventional urea, a lot of it is get washed away during the irrigation. But what happens when you spray the nano urea directly onto the leaves? It just gets absorbed. It doesn't waste. It is wasted too much. Moreover, understand that as the liquid nano urea is sprayed directly onto the leaves, it gets absorbed. So the targeted supply of nutrients is possible. Where the nutrient is needed, you are spraying it at the same place. But when the conventional urea is there, okay, a lot of it gets waste. Moreover, it's also price effective. One particular bottle of nano liquid urea cost around 240, whereas the urea 50 kg of urea, it is very much expensive even after the subsidy that is being given by the government. Okay, so therefore liquid nano urea, it is effective because of its targeted nutrient delivery, because of its high absorption and all these particular kind of benefits that they have. Now understand this particular thing, that the government has rolled out the nano urea for the commercial usage, but the scientists, they are skeptical. They think they are not very much convinced that whether nano urea will actually be helping or not. Now let's understand what is the criticism against the nano urea that has been made by the scientific community. So the criticism that comes here is that, like, say this, listen this thing. Now it has been provided by the scientist, just a minute. It has been provided by the scientist that what you need a particular amount of urea. You need a particular amount of urea or a particular amount of nitrogen for a particular productivity. They say to produce 1 ton of wheat grain, 25 kg of nitrogen is needed. 25 kg of nitrogen is needed. For 1 ton of rice, 20 kg of nitrogen is needed. For maize, 30 kg of nitrogen is used. So a particular amount or a particular quantity of nitrogen is used for a particular productivity. Now when we talk about the nano urea, it has been provided that in one particular bottle, guys, just a minute, I'll highlight this particular point here so that you can see. So when we talk about the nano urea, in one 500 milliliter bottle, there is only 4% of nitrogen. It means that only 20 gram of nitrogen is there in one particular bottle. So it means that see, suppose 60% of the available nitrogen is being used when the conventional granules of the urea is being spread, it will lead to this much of the wheat grain. But even if 100% of urea will be consumed, let's say even if the 100% urea is being consumed of that particular sprayed, just a minute. Okay, so even if the 100% urea is being consumed of the nano urea, it will just be giving the yield of 368 grams only. What it says? It says that you need to see what is the quantity of urea that is reaching to the plant. Okay, when you are giving the liquid nano urea, when you are giving the liquid nano urea, in one bottle you are just giving the 20 gram urea. But when we are giving the conventional urea, we are able to get much more higher urea. Okay, for example, in one conventional sack, fine, there is around 20 kg of urea, 20 kg of nitrogen out of the 45 kg sack. So in conventional we are giving the 20 kg. So obviously the conventional urea will be much more effective than the liquid nano urea. So therefore it has been said that government has not properly experimented on that, and up till now we have not seen that whether the liquid nano urea works into the real life condition or not. And without seeing that particular thing only, we are coming on to the conclusions. So you now again read the heading. What heading says? Scientists remain skeptical about how nano urea benefits the crop. Simply the amount of urea is very much important. Okay, and the amount of urea is just 20 gram in that one particular bottle, so it is not going to be very much effective according to the scientist community. So this is something that we have to see. Okay, so guys, that is all about this particular article. Now if I want to summarize this particular article in just 10 seconds, it's like this, that when we talk about the liquid nano urea, it is into the liquid form which is directly sprayed, and it has been said that because of the spraying, what happens, because of the spray and because of the nanoparticles of urea that are there, it is highly absorbed. There is a target delivery of nutrients on one particular part, you can spray that. And third, it is very much cost effective. But the scientists, on to the opposite, they say that absorption, all these things are important, but the amount of urea also matters. Fine, so the less amount of urea is available into these sprays, so therefore it might not be completely effective. That's all about this article. Now we'll move to the next article. Dark sky reserve to come up in Ladakh. Now this particular article, guys, it's talking about the recently a Hanle facility in the Ladakh that has been declared as the dark sky reserve. So we'll understand this particular entire issue with respect to the GS paper number 3, science and technology, and with respect to the prelims also, this entire article will see that. Now first of all, guys, what has happened, the department of, now here you can see, the Department of Science and Technology, that is the DST, Department of Science and Technology, has announced that India's first dark sky reserve will be set up in the Ladakh in Hanle. First dark sky reserve. Now what's the dark sky reserve? Dark sky reserve. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that when we want to observe the sky, for that particular thing, we use high powered telescopes. Now often these telescopes are not able to function effectively because a lot of artificial light interferes. For example, if I install a telescope in my balcony in, let's say, Delhi, there is a lot of artificial light from the street lights, from the vehicles, many other domestic lights are there. It will interfere and I will not be able to see the sky very clearly. But there are certain areas which are very pitch dark, there is no artificial light, and because of that, there it is very better that from there you can observe the sky very efficiently. Now in the world there are many of the dark sky reserves that are there. Okay, so basically dark sky reserve, it is a place that has policies in place to ensure that a tract of land or region has minimal artificial light interference. Now there is International Dark Sky Association, International Dark Sky Association of the USA. Now International Dark Sky Association gives the status of the dark reserve to a particular place. In the world there are many of the dark sky reserves, but in India dark sky reserves were not there. So there are not any dark sky reserve in India up till now. Now for the first time, the Hanle in the Ladakh, which is at 4,500 meter above the sea level, it has been given the status of the dark sky reserve. It is already having the telescope. Okay, it is already having the telescope. So here we can see there is the Himalayan, there is a Himalayan Chandra telescope. So this is the Himalayan Chandra telescope. This Himalayan Chandra telescope is located into the Hanle. Now first of all, why this is located into the Hanle? Because there is very much less artificial light that is there, and because of that the observation of sky becomes very much effective. So in the Hanle, it is a very optimal site for the astronomical observation. Okay, so therefore now it has been given this particular status. It has been said that it is very much suited because of its is pristine atmosphere. Moreover, understand this particular thing, that in the Hanley there are the cloudless skies. Moreover, atmospheric water vapor also are very much low here. So because of the less number of clouds, less number of water vapors, it becomes very effective to study the sky. So therefore it has been given the status. Now understand guys this particular thing. One more issue has been provided in this particular article. Let's discuss this particular thing also. You need to apply your mind. Now don't just read what the article is saying, but please apply your mind. Now what the article says here, listen this thing. Just a minute, I'll show you the background. Now yes, this particular article, this particular paragraph. So a paragraph says that the science minister and many other officials, they have said that it will help in boosting the local tourism and economy through intervention in science and technology. Now it has been said that because it has been given the status of the dark sky reserve, tourism will be boosted. Now understand this particular thing guys, that according to me, my personal opinion, every place tourism should not be promoted. Why? Because this place has been given the dark sky reserve status only because there is a very less artificial lights. Now if more tourism will come in this place, obviously there will be a lot of artificial light by the vehicles, then there will be a lot of hotels, a lot of many such kind of activities will be coming, which will create a lot of artificial light. And the advantage that this particular place had, that advantage will entirely go down. Okay, because the bustling economic activity by the tourist will disturb the pristine region. So we say this particular thing that yes, it is going to promote the astronomical tourism and all those kind of things, but do we really need tourism at such places where the science and technology is the important consideration? So that is an important thought you need to consider. So that's all about this particular article guys. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. India and Australia from divergence to convergence. Okay, so guys, this particular article talks about the 5th round of bilateral track 1.5 dialogue that is going to be convened between the India and Australia. So first of all, now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, international relation, India-Australia relations. Now first of all, what does this track 1.5 dialogue means? Now guys, the track 1.5 dialogue or track 1.5 diplomacy simply means where the government officials and the non-government officials both come together and they discuss some of the important policy matters. For example guys, when we talk about the track 1.5 diplomacy, the representatives from the India and Australia, both government and non-government representatives, will be coming together and they will be raising the key issues. So fifth round of 1.5 bilateral talks between the India and Australia are going to held. In that capacity, it has been provided that how the India and Australia have converged together. What are the commonalities? What are the common grounds between the India and Australia? They are being discussed here. So let's discuss all these points one by one. Now, number one, what happens? We today are aligned, India and Australia aligned with the Indo-Pacific. Now you might be already knowing about the quadrilateral security dialogue. So in the quadrilateral security dialogue, there is India, there is Australia, then there is Japan. Okay, India, Australia, Japan, and then there is USA. So India and Australia are the partners under the Quad, and by that particular thing, in the Indo-Pacific region, there is a lot of convergence between the India and Australia. Both talks about the rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific region. Both talk about the navigation of the seas in the Indo-Pacific region. So here, both India and Australia have the common ground. Then the next common ground is that both are English-speaking, multicultural, federal democracies that believe in the rule of law. Now, India has a distinct advantage, the high English-speaking population that we have in India. Now, understand, in India, we have the young people, and today the educated class in the India is increasing. Now guys, even when you compare the India and China, Indians have much more fluent English speaking skills. So India and Australia have better. Now Australia, for them, their English is the official language there, but India also has a very good command. Both are the multicultural countries. India, article 25 to 28, we give the right to every religion. In the preamble, the word secularism is mentioned, and even the cultural rights have been given to the minorities. So So India respect multiculturalism. Australia is also a multicultural country. Then the federal democracies. Okay, so in India we have a federal setup where the states have been given a distinct and the special powers. So both are the federal, multiculturals and English speaking both are converging on these 3 points: English speaking skills, multiculturalism and federalism. Rule of law is respected. Now after that, guys, understand that India and Australia have also convergence, because today Indians, they have the largest source of skilled migrants in Australia. So many of the educated Indians, they are going to Australia and they are contributing into the Australian economy. So by that particular thing also, the India and Australia is converging. Then guys, recently there was a basically comprehensive bilateral agreement has been signed between the India and Australia, which is called as the ECTA, Australia India Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement. Now by the signing of the ECTA between the India and Australia, the trade relations, okay, the service transfers, okay, the export relations between both the two countries will be expanded. So this is also one other converging point. So we have seen 1, 2, 3 convergence points. Then the fourth convergence point that comes between the India and Australia, it's because that the technology, fine, the technology, the cyber world, okay, it is playing a very important role in both the India and Australia. Now understand this particular capacity, that what has happened recently, the leadership dialogue was held. Into this particular leadership dialogue, it was provided that both India and Australia, in both in Australia and India, they depend on the artificial intelligence, machine to machine communication, internet of things, the cyber technologies. They are going to be the next big things between India and Australia. So this is also a convergence point. Now when we talk about both, they face the same kind of challenges also, challenges from cyber threats, challenges from artificial intelligence. These are the same challenges. Even when we talk about the India and Australia, both are facing the challenge that how to decarbonize their economy, how to reduce their carbon footprint. So decarbonization, how to develop and how to secure the supply chains. Now see this particular thing, that supply chains, China is a very important player into the supply chains. Much of the critical inputs are being supplied by China. Now both India and Australia, they don't want to depend on China. So what could be the third place by which the supplies by both India and the Australia can be secured? So the supply chain are very much important considerations that are to be secured. Then the critical minerals. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing. There are certain minerals which are critical for India's growth, and there is a list of 49 critical minerals that India need. Out of these 49 critical minerals, 21 critical minerals are found in Australia. So for the India's critical mineral strategy, Australia can be an important partner. Then guys, understand this particular thing, that however, what happened because of the pandemic of COVID-19, the India and Australia, they were not able to collaborate on many of the fronts, and there were certain gap areas that remained since 2000 and after 2019. Now both the countries are coming together and they are again trying to leverage the low hanging fruits between both the two countries. So this is something that has happened. Okay, so guys, we have to see that how further India and Australia will scale their relations. So that's all about this article. Now we'll move to the next article. A lot is at stake for India-Bangladesh ties, and there is one more article, Hasina's visit to focus on water sharing. So now guys, this particular article will see with respect to GS2, international relations, India-Bangladesh relations. Now, basically, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has to visit India. In that capacity, there are many of the things that will be addressed. So we'll see that what are the convergences and which are the divergences between the India and Australia. All these particular points will be seen here. Now, first of all, when we talk about the India and Bangladesh, the Bangladesh is India's sixth largest trade partner. So basically, there was $2.4 billion. There was $2.4 billion bilateral trade that was there between the India and Bangladesh in 2009. And from $2.4 billion, we have reached to $10.8 billion of bilateral trade between India and Bangladesh. So it shows that there is economic relations between the India and Bangladesh that are building. After that, critical industrial raw materials are also imported from India by the Bangladesh. So for that particular capacity also, the Bangladesh is also very much dependent on India. Number one. Number two, guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the Bangladesh is going to be a major exporting nation. Fine, and in that capacity, the World Bank has also noted that Bangladesh's export will rise to 182% under the free trade agreement. So if a free trade agreement with India is conducted, that the Bangladesh's export potential will further increase. It can become also 300% if combined with the trade facilitation measures, reduced transaction cost. So if the transaction costs are reduced, free trade agreement is signed, many other barriers between the trade is reduced, then the Bangladesh export potential can rise by 300%. And in that capacity, India is a very meaningful partner for the Bangladesh. Bangladesh can increase their exports towards the India. So therefore, for Bangladesh, India happens to be an important partner. Then India and Bangladesh are working very much on the connectivity measures also. Now, first of all, when we talk about India, India is very much inclined towards its Act East policy. Now, as a part of that Act East policy, India wants to make the far-reaching relation with our eastern neighbors. Moreover, as per the Act East policy, India wants to integrate the Northeast India with the economies of Bangladesh and with the economies of the eastern countries. So, as a part of the Look East, fine, India wants to make a good and meaningful relation with Bangladesh. Now, guys, under the ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, many of the connectivity projects are being taken up, by which a physical connectivity between the northeast and the eastern countries will be made. Moreover, Bangladesh has now shown the willingness to join the India-Myanmar-Thailand highway. So this is a trilateral India-Myanmar-Thailand highway. Bangladesh also wants to become a part of this. By that particular thing, what will happen? The integration of northeast or integration of India with the east will increase, and the Look East policy of India will be fulfilled. So this is also, that was why the Bangladesh is important. Then, guys, understand this particular thing. India-Bangladesh bilateral waterway trade will also be boosted if India and Bangladesh can sign meaningful agreements. Now, understand, there are two very important ports of Bangladesh. First of, there is a Mongla port, and then there are Chittagong ports. Okay, Mongla port and Chittagong port. Now, these Mongla and Chittagong ports can be used by the northeastern states to enhance their exports or for their particular trade. Now, you know this particular thing, that when we talk about the Northeast India's connectivity with the mainland India is very much restricted. So therefore, in order to provide them accessibility to the ports in a shortest route possible, that particular thing can be provided by Bangladesh. So the Mongla and Chittagong ports are very important. Moreover, understand this particular thing, guys, that actually Bangladesh, being an exporting nation, also needs some big ports for their exports. Right now, the Bangladesh is using the ports of Malaysia and the ports of Singapore. Now, India has equally big ports, so India can provide opportunity to Bangladesh that rather than going to Malaysia or Singapore for their big exports, the Bangladesh can use Indian ports. It will generate certain user charges for India also. It will generate revenue for India also. The next thing, that is that actually there are some irritants also between India and Bangladesh. For example, irritant was of 2019. Now, 2019, when the National Register of Citizens and the Citizenship Amendment Act was passed. Now, in this Citizenship Amendment, when the Citizenship Amendment Act was passed, there were a lot of distrust in the Islamic nations, okay, or the countries having the substantial populations of Muslims. Because, guys, it has been provided that the India basically has specifically not given the due regard to the Muslim communities. So, by that particular thing, the India-Bangladesh relations went a little bit down. However, land swap agreement of 2015 that happened between India and Bangladesh, it resolved one particular crisis before that also. So basically, there was the enclave dispute that was there between the India and Bangladesh. Now, this dispute was very simple. What happened? Suppose this is India, this is Bangladesh. Now, there were certain land packets. This was certain land packets which were there in Indian territory, but they were claimed, but they belonged to the Bangladesh. And at the same time, there were certain land packets that were in Bangladesh, but they were owned by India. Now, the people were living in these enclaves. It means that if they come out of this particular small land area, now this particular small land is of Bangladesh, but outside the entire territories of Indian. Same way, these small land pieces, these are the Indian, but outside it's Bangladesh. So the people cannot come out of these land enclaves. So there was an agreement that we can swap these land pieces, land enclaves. So whatever enclaves are there in India, they will become Indian, and whatever there are in Bangladesh, they will become Bangladeshi. So this was something land swap agreement that was signed between India and Bangladesh in 2015. So this solved a very big problem that was there. However, guys, after that, now there was the 7th round of India-Bangladesh Joint Consultative Commission that has been held. In this 7th round of Joint Consultative Commission, India and Bangladesh has agreed to converge on many of the important things. For example, they have provided that they will be enhancing their partnership on artificial intelligence, financial technologies, fintechs, cyber security, startups, connectivity. In all those particular things, they will be enhancing their expertise. Particularly Bangladesh will take Indian expertise in these particular matters, so it will enhance the relations furthermore. Then understand this particular thing, guys, that as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh is visiting India, the main focus will be the signing of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement (CEPA). By that CEPA, the bilateral trade between the India and Bangladesh will enhance many much fold. So this is something that will be done. However, guys, understand that the Teesta water sharing has remained a very problematic issue between India and Bangladesh. So India and Bangladesh multinational rivers are shared between India and Bangladesh, and Teesta happens to be a very important river. Now on the Teesta, up till now no agreement on the Teesta, still there are the disputes, and it is being expected that now at least one agreement onto the Teesta river water sharing will be signed. Now at the same time, there are some complications. There are certain complications between the India-Bangladesh relation. The biggest complication is the China factor. Now understand, China has been actively involved with the Bangladesh. China is providing them aids, China is providing them infrastructure assessment, and all these particular things are being provided by the China. So basically, guys, China has interfered a lot in the matters of India into the matters of Bangladesh, and at the same time with the China we are not having the good relations. So in that particular capacity, China is complicating the matters, and that issue is to be taken up. Bangladesh also needs the support of China for resolving the Rohingya crisis. Okay, moreover for the weaponry and many such kind of things also the Bangladesh needs China. Fine. So this is something where the matter can get complicated. So guys, this is entire dimension of the India-Bangladesh relation. I am very much confident that if you read this particular article, you don't need to read anything beyond the scope of this particular article if you are understanding that. So that's all. And so therefore, guys, please download this PDF and please note down all these particular points in your notebook. That's all. Now we'll move to the next article. Changing the age of consent. Changing the age of consent. Now this particular article, guys, it's with respect to the children related issues. This article pertains to the issues related to the children. Okay, therefore this particular article is going to be important in GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, social justice. GS paper number 2, social justice, child related issues. Now basically this article, guys, talks about the age of consent. Age of consent. Now before going in this particular article, I would like to give you some of a background. So guys, the background goes like this, that in India we have POXO Act, POXO 2012. POXO stands for Protection of Children from the Sexual Offences Act, POXO 2012. In this POXO Act, it has been provided that any individual below the age of 18 years will be child, and any sexual activity with such an individual will be a criminal offence, even if the child gives the consent. The consent of an individual of less than 18 years, it doesn't matters. Okay, so any sexual relation with an individual of 18 years will be punishable offense, even if the individual has been given a consent, because the consent cannot be given by a person of less than 18 years who provides it, POXO Act. Keep this background in your mind. Now in this particular capacity, what has happened recently, Karnataka High Court quashed a criminal proceeding of rape under the IPC, as well as the offences of penetrative aggravated sexual assault was also quashed under the POXO. What happened? Basically, there was a girl, and then there was a boy. Now the girl was of a 17-year-old. Girl said that she had made the consensual sexual relation with the boy, and both of them want to marry, and they even got married. Both of them have made a consensual sexual relation. Okay, but what happened? The family members of the girl, they filed a complaint against the boy under the POXO, because under the POXO any sexual relation with the person of less than 18 years cannot be made. Now the girl was 17 17-year-old. So under the POCSO, that particular boy was arrested and the charges was made. But now it has been dropped by the Karnataka High Court. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about the POCSO, find a number of young couples, even if they are having consensual sexual relations, even it was a non-exploitative relationships, fine, they cannot justify that particular relationship. The consent of child or the consent of an individual who is less than 18 years, it is immaterial, it doesn't matters. Are you getting it or not? What happens in this particular cases? The boys, they are put in the jail, the boys, they are put in the jails, and the girls, they are treated as victims and they are put into the institutional capacity. And in that particular thing, what is happening, both of their rights are getting impacted. So girls are being put in institutional care, boys are being put into the jail. Now what happened, there is a section 482 of the CRPC. Now in the section 482 of the CRPC, the court has been given a power. Now understand this particular provision very clearly. It has been provided to prevent the abuse of the process of any court or otherwise, and to secure the end of the justice, any order can be quashed by the judiciary. So what happened, the POCSO charges have been quashed by the judiciary by using the section 482 to do the complete justice. These particular charges have been quashed by the court. This is something that is happening now, guys. Similarly, the cases have been quashed earlier in the Vijay Lakshmi versus state of representative. Fine. The Madras High Court said that punishing an adolescent boy who enters into a relationship with a minor girl by treating him or her as an offender was never the objective of POCSO. Now understand this particular thing, guys. What can happen? Suppose 17-year-old boy and let's say 17-year-old girl. Now this 17-year-old boy is a minor, the 17-year girl is also minor. Now both of them involved into the consensual relationship. Now what will happen in this particular matter, even if the consensual sex is there, this 17-year-old boy will be considered as a rapist. So objective of POCSO was not to do this particular thing. Objective was to deter the people who are carrying such rape and related acts with the girls without their consent and who are exploiting them. That was the intent. So the intent of the POCSO was not this. Now understand this particular thing, guys. By an analysis of Enfold Proactive Health Trust, they have analyzed the cases filed under the POCSO Act between 2016 and 2020, and they had found that 24.3% of the cases are of same type of only, where an adolescent boy or a minor girl got involved in a consensual sexual relation. 24% cases are of this particular category. Moreover, it has been provided that the parents and relatives of the girl constituted 80% of the complainants. Many times what is happening, when the girl is having a relationship with a boy, and if that is a sexual relationship, and if the parents don't approve that particular relationship, then parents have filed the complaint against the boy. Is it clear or not? And in these cases, many times the acquittals have also been given by the courts. So basically, courts are understanding that this particular act is being used in a social capacity. What is happening? When the parents don't approve the relations of the girls who are 17.5-year-old with the partners of their choices, then the parents are using this thing. So it has been provided that the blanket criminalization of the consensual sexual acts involving the adolescents doesn't safeguards their dignity. It doesn't safeguard their privacy. So some amendment into the POCSO is needed. So that is all, guys, about this particular article that has come. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Justice rendered but only incompletely. Now this article will be important for GS paper number 2, issues related to polity. Now, what this particular article talks about, guys, this particular article talks about the Teesta Stelawad case. Okay, this article talks about the Teesta Stelawad case. Now, what happened? The Teesta Stelawad was actually just a minute. Teesta Stelawad was a human rights activist. Now, she has been charged by the Gujarat police that she had conspired during the Gujarat riots. So charges were imposed on her by the Gujarat police, but she was not given the bail for a long period of time. Now she has been given the bail by the CJI Justice UU Lalit's bench. Now this particular article talks about that actually deciding onto the bail has been a very long issue. What happened basically in the India, the judges, they have developed a kind of a apprehension against giving the bails. It has been provided that today there are many of the political prisoners who are languishing into the jail, but they are not being given the bail by the court, and by that particular thing the freedom of the people in the country is getting impacted. Now understand this particular thing, guys. There have been certain judgments in this particular direction where it is being provided that the bail needs to be given very immediately. By the way, guys, one particular thing is there. Just 2 weeks back, Satinder Kumar Antil versus CBI judgment was given, and by that particular case we have seen many articles in this particular direction, and guys, we have seen how many number of times the bail is being denied. So many articles on that this issue already we have seen. If you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, you might already be knowing that thing also. So there is Gudi Kanti Narasimhalu judgment. Fine, here what had happened, it was provided that the issue of bail or jail was taken, whether the bail is to be given or whether the jail is to be given, and it was provided this particular thing that the bail hinges on the judicial discretion. Here it has been provided that whenever the bail is being denied, it puts a burden on the liberty, justice, public, it puts a burden on the public treasury, all those particular kind of things. It was provided that the jurisprudence of bail is integral to a socially sensitized judicial process. Simply, what does it mean in the simple words? It puts that when you are denying the bail, it is unnecessarily impacting the liberty of a person. It is putting a burden onto the exchequer. Why? Because when a person will be put into the jail, here there will be a lot of financial cost of that. Moreover, it has been provided that the bail norm is a symbol of a sensitized judiciary, so bail should be given. Then there was a Joginder Kumar versus State of UP judgment. Here also it was provided that there needs to be the procedural imperatives for arrest. For every matter, arrest needs not to be done. Arrest needs to be done only on very rare circumstances. Then there was a Sanjay Chandra versus CBI judgment. Here it was provided that the object of bail is neither punitive nor preventive. It is only to secure the appearance of the accused. Okay. So basically, it is being provided that you are denying the bail to some people. Why? Because you want to punish them. But denying bail should not only be to punish the people, but bail should be denied where you fear that a person will not appear for the court hearing. If there is no such fear, if the person will appear for the court hearing, then the bail should not be denied. This is something that has been provided. Then there is Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar. So Arnesh Kumar rules were provided into this particular Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar. Here it has been provided arbitrary arrest and detention should not be there. And finally, the Satinder Kumar Antil versus CBI judgment was there, where the Supreme Court asked that in India we need to have a bail act. So in UK there is a bail act of 1976. So on to the lines of UK's bail act, we need to have a bail act in India also, so that bail is not being denied onto the arbitrary grounds. So this is something which is provided here in this particular article. Okay, so guys, what you need to see, basically the bail is not being given by the judges, and in that capacity we have seen the judgments, that is the Gudi Kanti judgment, Joginder Kumar judgment, Arnesh Kumar judgment, Sanjay Chhabra judgment, all these judgments. Now understand this thing, that whenever you are writing any answer, you need to justify, you need to authenticate your answer, and in that capacity giving the references from the judgments become very important one. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. ISRO test system to recover spent rocket stages. Now this is yet another achievement by our prestigious space research organization, that is the Indian Space Research Organization. Now guys, what has happened recently, the ISRO, it tested the inflatable aerodynamic deaccelerator, IAD. Now I'll explain you in a very simple word what is this IAD, that is the inflatable aerodynamics deaccelerator. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that what happens many times we are launching the rockets. Now guys, when we are talking launching the rockets has multiple stages, and these stages will get separated. For example, guys, there is one particular stage, there is a one particular component into the rockets which just contain the fuels. Okay, so after a particular time it will get deassembled. When this particular fuel is spent, this particular canister will be detached and it will fall on the ground. Then there are other components components which will detach once they have performed their operation, and they will again fall onto the ground. Now guys, when we talk about the launch vehicles, when we talk about the PSLV launch vehicles, when we talk about the GSLV launch vehicles, so these launch vehicles want to deploy the satellite, and as they will deploying the satellite, they will fall on the ground, and many number of times they will be destroyed, they cannot be again used. But if we can land them appropriately onto the ground, there are certain components of these particular rocket components which can be further used again into the next stages of the launches. So basically, this inflatable aerodynamic deaccelerator has been launched by the ISRO to help in this particular capacity. First of all, what has happened, let's understand this thing. So basically guys, recently this inflatable aerodynamic deaccelerator was test flown by the ISRO's Vikram Sarabhai space station on a Rohini 300, that is the RH 300 Mark II rocket. Okay, where it was launched? It was launched into the Thumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station. Now, where is this Thumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station? It is in the Thiruvananthapuram. Just a minute. Where it is? It is into the Thiruvananthapuram. Now, Thiruvananthapuram is in Kerala. So, this from the Thumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station, Thiruvananthapuram, this inflatable aerodynamic deaccelerator was tested. It was tested onto the rocket, that is the Rohini 300 or RH 300 Mark II. Now, what this is? This particular demonstration opens the gateway for the cost-effective recovery of the spent stage. This is the demonstration of the cost-effective just a minute. So speaking from 1 hour. So what it is the this demonstration opens a gateway for cost-effective spent stage recovery. Now, what is this spent stage recovery? So when the rocket is being launched, I told you that at the separate stages there will be the separate components that will be detached. So once this particular component has been detached, now it is falling on the ground. What will happen? A kind of a parachute like structure will open out of this particular structure, and by that particular parachute like structure, what will happen? There will be the deacceleration of this particular component. It will fall very softly onto the ocean or onto the place where it was designated to fall. By that particular thing, this particular component will not be completely destroyed, and then there will be the components that can be retrieved out of that, and then they can be used for the future launches. So basically guys, what happened in this particular experiment that was conducted, a nose cone of the rocket got separated. Now fine, this is the nose cone of the rocket. It got separated, and this IAD, that is the inflatable aerodynamic deaccelerator, it got inflated. It became like a parachute. Okay, and basically it inflated like a balloon at a height of 84 kilometer. It used the compressed compressed nitrogen which was stored, and then what happened, once it fall down, it reduced the velocity of this particular payload, and then this particular payload was retrieved. So actually what happened, it is a parachute like structure which deflates, and when the object is falling onto the ground, it reduces its speed so that it doesn't get destroyed, and by that particular thing, that component can be again reused. So reused capabilities of the ISRO will be enhanced by the IAD, that is the inflatable aerodynamic deaccelerator. So guys, I hope that you have been able to understand this particular article. So that's all about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Chile votes on proposed constitution. Chile votes on proposed constitution. Now see, you don't need to go too much into the detail in this particular article, but recently what has happened, the Chile, that is the country into the South America, they have voted in a plebiscite. Now what is a plebiscite? Plebiscite is actually a tool in a direct democracy where the people will be taking the decision on some of the key matters. Are you getting it or not? Now guys, in the plebiscite, the Chileans, they have voted that whether they want to adopt a new constitution into the Chile or not. So basically the present constitution into the Chile, it is a 41-year-old constitution which was enacted at that point of a time by the General Augusto Pinochet. Now General Augusto Pinochet, the constitution which was brought, it was provided that it has not secured the rights of the vulnerable people, it has not secured the rights of the poor people. So the new constitution of the Chile that has come, it is talking about the indigenous people rights, it is talking about the gender equality. So basically the new constitution, it wants to make Chile as a plurinational state. Plurinational state. Now what is a plurinational state? Basically guys, there are certain states where there is a lot of nationalities that are living. Okay, there are states where there is a lot of diversity. Now guys, there are many nationalities that are existing in a same kind of a setup. So basically plurinationality or multiple nationalities are accepted here. So basically that is a plurinational state where multiple nationalities will be accepted, multiple nationalities will be given the rights. Okay, it will recognize the autonomous indigenous territories for the indigenous native tribal people that are living. For them, the indigenous territories will be recognized. A parallel justice system will be recognized into the areas where the tribal people are living. They will not be coming into the mainstream justice. They will be the parallel legal system for them. Moreover guys, the education, moreover, right now the constitution that is there, it is a market friendly constitution. It means that it doesn't envisages the role of a strong state. Now the private sector has been given the control over the education, pension, healthcare, everywhere. Are you getting it or not? Moreover, the present constitution, it doesn't give the special reference or to the indigenous population. Now 13% of the people are indigenous communities. These are the tribal communities of the Chile. So for them, there are no specific rights that have been envisaged. So the new constitution of Chile that will be coming, it will envisage the special rights of the indigenous peoples. Autonomous bodies will be there, parallel legal system, criminal justice system will be there for them. Moreover, they will be given also the rights. And now guys, rather than the market model, there was the model where the focus onto the rights by the way of the state will be emphasized. This is something that is happening. Is it clear or not? So guys, this is all the issues that are coming. However, you don't need to go into the detail. Whatever we have read, beyond that, not even a single word needs to be seen. Why? Because they are making the constitution, it is an internal development of the Chile. So you just need to see the implications, you just need to see the important features of this particular thing. Because why I'm telling you this thing? Because guys, into the past there have been the demands that in India also we needed to have a separate constitution. Okay, so therefore in such capacity you need to have certain references where, for example, the Chile is coming out with the new constitution. What are the provisions? Briefly, in 3-4 lines only, you need to have that particular idea, not beyond that. So that's all guys about this particular article. Okay, so with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. It was a very big long discussion. Okay, so that's all about the today. Now guys, we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much guys. Okay, and in case if you're liking the video, please do hit the like button. Please do leave your lovely comments, because your comments are always very motivating, are very much motivating for us. So thank you so much guys. August magazine, so dear, August magazine will be launched by around 14th or 15th of September, around within 10 days it will be launched. Okay, because the entire magazine, it is handwritten, so it takes a lot of effort. So within next 10 days it will be launched. Okay, thank